Welcome back. We're continuing on our beginner series. This is important stuff, even though a lot of people don't play it as really important. The end of the leader, your tippet, and I'll go through that in a second. This is where your fly gets delivered. Your leader hooks to your fly line, and this is what delivers your fly. But there's also things to understand about it. That's also what breaks, right? So the things that break and how to stop that from happening. So total beginner, total basic, right here. These are the two most common leaders there are. A 9-foot leader and a 7.5-foot leader. There are all sizes. These are the two most common, all right? So we start with the leader, and I want you to understand it. You've got a butt section that attaches to your fly line. That can either be done with a loop-to-loop or it can be done with a nail nut. Regardless of how you get it attached. There's videos about how to do that too. But regardless, you're going to have it's an extruded leader. It means it's been pushed through a die, it starts fat, and it gets skinny at the end. That whole idea of it getting skinny at the end is so when you cast it, the butt section, the big part, when it's unrolling, is stiffer, and as it loses diameter, it gets softer and it hits down and your fly sits nicely on the water. That's basically all you got to know about it. But the end of the leaders, almost all of them are around 30 inches long, is tippet. So you start with a fat end up here, it starts getting skinnier as it gets here, and the end of your leader is called your tippet. That's roughly the last 30 inches. Okay, there's basics to this. So you start with a 9-foot leader and you've got 30 inches of tippet. So say you've caught in a tree, you cut off flies, you put new ones on. Eventually you get back closer to the fat part and you start coming out of the tippet, the last 30 inches, which is one size. So when you read this leader, this says 7.5 foot 3X. That's important because the 3X is only the end of the tippet. It's only the tippet size. As soon as you get out of that, it starts getting really fat. And so a couple things to understand about that. You never add heavier tippet to the end of your leader. You always go smaller. So the X, whenever you see this stuff, the bigger the X, the bigger the number, the smaller the leader. So this is 3X, so you could put more 3X on, you could put 4X, and you could go 5X. You never want to go more than 3X's jump. There's just the knots don't hold, and you'll just start breaking things off. As a general rule, and there's no real hard and fast rules in the world of fishing, but as a general rule, 2X maximum. Don't go more than that. So 4 or 5 is where you end it on that. Okay? And so on your 9X, this is a 9X or 9 foot, 5X. The last 30 inches is 5X. So you're going to go 5, 6, or 7, right? You're never going to add anything bigger than that. So when you tie those on, it's important for me. I like to start with a 7.5 foot leader. That's just me. And then I add my tippet to it. And I just that's how I do it. A lot of people like to start with this 9-footer. If you fish once a week and you start with a 9-foot 5X leader, you'll be able to add tippet to this for the entire summer, most likely. If your line doesn't get caught, if you don't scratch it and do something way up in the line, you could probably use that leader for almost the entire summer. So that means you'd buy one of these and one thing of tippet, and you'd be ready for the summer. If you're one of these people that buys one of these every time they fish, you're going to end up spending about 10 times, if you go 10 times that year, you're going to spend at least 5 times as much as you would if you just added one piece of tippet. So, leader basics, never add heavier. The tippet, the last 30 inches is your tippet. Never go more than 2 sizes off of that when you add, and only go smaller as you go down. Hope you liked it. Hope it helps you out.